Today I am going to show you a card made with the Friend Like You bundle. It's these stamps and a really nice die set. So let me show you the dies first. I've only played with it a couple of times. And the card that I'm making now is not what was in my head, because once I started playing with it, it's got some palm trees and then some cat tails and then the flowers. And I started out, I wanted to use the palm trees, but as I always do, I took the dies and I ran them through just some scrap paper to kind of see what they do. So here's the flowers that I'm going to end up using, and here are the cattails, and then here's the palm trees. So when you do the palm trees, the trees themselves, like the stems, stay attached and the palm fronds kind of pop out. So I actually made the card and I put the palm trees on it, but they got a little overwhelmed by my background, and I'll show you why. Because I'm going to use our new Pigment inks. So let me figure out which of these I'm going to use. I'm going to use this one. There's still a piece in here from when I ran it through. I should have made sure this was clean. I thought they had all popped out. Yes, just one did. And then I'm going to use a couple of the greetings and then this nice little wavy piece here for a background, which originally it was going to be beach waves. So I might change this one up a little bit when I do the colors with the pigments. So it's a nice bright card. It is a little bit messy. It has several new things from our new catalog in it. So these are the new, if we had the brush show in the catalog before, and then these are the new, they're called Pigment Sprinkles. So when they come, you get 6 colors, and they're Stampin' Up! Colors. So the two I'm not using are Daffodil Delight and Granny Apple Green. Although, you know what? I think I'm going to switch, because like I said before, I was doing it kind of a beach theme, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Granny Apple. So this card will look a little bit different than my first one. But if you used brush show, you know that you had to like do a push pin in the top of it. These you don't have to. You can see we have the lids, and then it already has holes in it. So you just pop that open, and it's already got the holes, and then it has a lid that will pop down. So I'm going to move this over here, and then I have just laid the lids out here in front of them, so I'll know which lid goes on which one. And then I've got some shimmer white cardstock, and I'm going to use the little wavy, and I'm still going to use it because it gives some nice texture behind it. This is just kind of a modern, funky kind of card. I'm going to use Versamark, and then one of our new embossing powders. We have 2 new ones in the catalog, and this one is the shimmer white embossing powder. So I'm going to use it on my shimmer white cardstock. And it's really pretty. See, it is shimmery. And I'm going to use it on here for a resist. So it stamps about 2.5 times across your card. So one time, it doesn't have to be perfect either, because you're going to cover some of this up. So one time do it here. And then what I did was I flipped it over. So the other time the lines go the opposite way, and I kind of started over, because then they kind of go down inside of each other. It is a little tricky to see. But just line it up the best you can. Like I said, you're going to cover it up with other things, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to emboss something later, but I'm going to do it while I'm letting my paper dry. So we get our clear powder here. I'm going to grab another piece of scrap. I have tons of pool party from a charity event I did once. So that's why I often say scrap cardstock, and people are like, that's not scrap, that's pool party. But I will never make that many pool party cards in a lifetime. So you can see it's got white powder, and then it also has the iridescent sprinkles in it. So I've got that on there. And I'm just going to lay this aside because I'm going to use it again when I emboss in a second. Hope my cats don't hop up on the table. Get that out of the way, let my gun get hot. And I'm going to hold this where I hope that you can kind of see it. We've had embossing powders with glitter in them in the past, and they're a little bit trickier to see when they melt, and especially because I'm doing white on white. So here we go. You can kind of see there, at least I hope you can, where this is white and this is still not white. You want to make sure it's white, otherwise it's going to rub off when retouch your card later. It has to be all the way melted, but you don't want to over melt it because then it's going to look all flat and not have any dimension, and it won't resist if you're doing something like this where you want to resist technique. So I just like to hold, don't wave your gun, just hold it near one spot until it melts and then move it on to the next. And you can see now the difference from one side to the other in color. And once your gun gets hot, it goes a lot faster. I'm going to do my second embossing with this in a minute on black. You'll be able to see it better when it does it on black. And then just kind of angle it in the light and make sure that it all embossed everywhere. And sometimes when you use the ones with the glitter, you can see this has more embossing powder and this over here has more glitter. So it's just kind of a random effect. And now this is where the fun part starts. So my original card, because I was going for a beach, I kind of went with water towards sunset. But now let's go for grass. So I'm going to start with the granny apple. And you just need a tiny bit of sprinkle. That was way too much. So this is granny apple, and I know it does not look like it. And then you just pop those lids back on. They're not like with the push pins where you had to push the pin back on, and then just screw the caps back on. And you can see the caps have the color. And then let's do a little bit of Bermuda Bay. Now we're just going to go for funky. And again, you don't need a lot, so just barely tap. And a little bit of overlap of color is what you want. Pop that lid back on. And then screw this lid back on. And I already have pigment powders on my hands from my card before. And now I'm going to do Gorgeous Grape. And I do want to make sure that I have not necessarily the most, but a liberal amount, because I'm doing, and these go a super long way. So where I've got a big amount of powder right there, that's going to be a lot. So that's plenty. But my card base is grape, so I want to make sure that the grape does show. Pop that back on there. And then they come in a box and then in a baggie. So if you take your supplies out a lot, you may want to put them both back in the baggie and then in a box. And then this is Melon Mambo. It's a nice bright package of colors. If you had the brush show, they were a little bit more earthy, more earth tones. Let's screw that one back on there. And then this is Mango Melody. Just put a little bit of that on the top. I'm going to pick this up just so you can see that it doesn't take much, because you're going to see how much color this gives me. So if you put much more, it's really going to be too much and it will turn muddy and be a big mess. You don't want a big mess. You want it to be beautiful. You can also see what it does do to your hands from my card before. But you can see that it doesn't have much powder on it at all. And this is really where the fun starts. And you do need to have some scrap paper. And it's better to have your scrap paper, because I'm going to spritz water on it, and it's going to blow it this way. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way, because I want it to go mix the dark to the light. But it will tend to blow your powders the direction of that you're spritzing. These are just our spritzers that are in the back of the catalog. They're super inexpensive. I really got a lot of purple on my hands. So just lay it here and then kind of hold it up, because then you'll get less blowing, and just lightly spritz. And you can see how much color that's giving me. So if you had more powder than that, then it would be up too much. And all of the colors have a little bit of other colors in them because they're mixed with color. So sometimes when you have a little bit of sprinkles, if you've used the brushes, you know that was true. Like if you were painting with them, you would paint with the olive, the one that was the mossy color, and sometimes it might look brown and sometimes it might look bright green when you dip your paintbrush in, which I will do some painting with these because that's one of my favorite things to do. So I've just got the spatula end of my Take Your Pick tool to hold this as it curls over. The watercolor cardstock and the shimmer will do better in this technique than the white or vanilla, just because it needs so much water, and they have the watercolor will take the water, and the shimmer has a coat on it. And I said I wanted lots of grape, and it doesn't appear that I have much. But this is very pretty, and it will be pretty on the card. There's enough grape to do it. So you can see how the overspray was. You don't want that on your table because it is a pigment and it can stain, as evidenced by my hands. So then it does, you can see where the water is welling up, especially by the embossing, how it resisted that. So I do need to take my gun again. And this time, if you have one of the newer Stampin' Up! Guns, it has two settings. It has a dry and then an emboss setting. So use the dry setting. If you don't have one of the newer guns, then just hold it further away because you don't want to remelt your embossing. So see, you can hear it, that one. And you can see this will kind of move the water around a little bit. And it doesn't have to be all the way dry because I'm not actually stamping on it, but I don't want all this much water on it. In fact, I'm going to let a little bit of it go off. If you use watercolor cardstock, it soaks into the cardstock faster and it dries quicker. But it dries fairly quickly if you use the drying setting on your gun. I'll move it up where you can see it a little bit better. So you can see on the edges where the water's gone to the edge. It is not beautiful. And every piece that you do is obviously going to look different because it's going to hit your card different. You're going to sprinkle different. If you want the white to really be white, then you could take something and wipe that off at the end, but I'm fine with it having color on top of it. And I'm doing this first, just so it kind of warms the paper up, and then it can dry on its own as we finish the rest of the card. And it'll curl a little bit, but it'll be fine because we'll press it down when we put it on with adhesive. So there we go. There's that. So I'm going to move it aside, and then I'm going to finish my embossing. Get the pigment off of there. Fold this up just so I can emboss with it one more time. So the set has a stamp that says Happy Day. I'm going to use that on a piece of scrap black cardstock. I'm going to go back to my Versamark. Just stamp it. This time you'll be able to see that white emboss a little bit better because it's on the black. Where I've poured it out from before, I can just put that on there. You do want to make sure when you use this that you get it all off, otherwise you'll have glitter where you didn't want glitter. On this card it doesn't really matter so much because it is kind of a fun card. I should have a paintbrush laying here, but I don't see one. I'll just use the end of the spatula. The spatula tip on the Take Your Pick tool is my favorite one. I find I use it all the time for everything. You can see I don't even have my other tip in. But that scraped it off mostly. The white with the shimmer on it is going to be super fun when we start doing Christmas cards. I thought about doing black, the black shimmer on white cardstock for this card, but because I think we'll do this at my camp in July, I didn't want to mix the powders. My hands just look horrible. Okay, let's heat this one up, and this time you will be able to see it. Once it gets hot, see how it just goes from how it's white on one end and not white on the other. And there, it's done. Okay, so that's all of the stamping that we're going to do. Oh, no, I'm not telling the truth. I have a piece of scrap shimmer white. It's all the embossing we're going to do. And then there's a saying that says, "Here's to celebrating you." I'm just going to get the memento. And stamp that on my shimmer. I also thought about spritzing that, but when I put it on the card, I realized it would just get lost if you spritzed it again, just because I like spritzing and it's so much fun to have all that color on there. Okay, now we're going to pull our Big Shot over. And whichever die cutting system you have, as long as it works with the dies, it will work. So I've got our stitched rectangle, and there's a size that just fits just around this. And just one pass through is fine on that. No special shims, nothing needed, just one pass through is fine. And then the piece that has all the flowers, I'm going to put this on a piece of glossy black. And the first time I did it, I will tell you, on the card, you're going to see it in a minute, I put it too close to the edge. So leave it a little bit further up. And you're going to lose a little bit of the side, so if it doesn't quite fit, that's okay. The first one, it was off the sides more, and it was too close to the bottom. So, you know, you live and you learn, but I didn't want to, it was usable. So it's like, you know, it's a little bit of a mistake, but it wasn't so much of a mistake that I didn't feel like I could use it on the card. And it looks, it's one of those things that if you know it could be better and you look at it, then you know, oh, that could be better. So one pass through on that. And then the bottom, if it doesn't go all the way over, you will have to just snip that right there. So if your paper's smaller than the die, it'll break itself free. And then this just pulls out like this. And again, there was no shim, there was just one pass through your machine. And it takes a second. You don't want to use any of your rolly things because it's foil paper and it will take the, if you've ever done that, then you may have noticed that there's silver foil underneath the black, and if you roll things over it too much, then it will take the black off, and it kind of makes your foil not look as shiny. So just take a second. This is going to be one of the focal points of your card. So just take a second and just pull it out. As you can see, it's pulling out fine, so don't ruin it by trying to go save a couple minutes. You just don't want to break any of your flowers off by pulling too hard, because they're all out. They're just intricate, so just make sure they're all free before you pull the paper. I'm going to move my machine so I can see it a little bit better, and maybe you can see it too, because looking over the top of the machine doesn't help. Wiggle those last ones loose and just go back and forth, and then it's going to leave a couple of these down here in it. It's hard to know when it's actually free. So here's a flower right here. I think that's the last one that's holding it in there. Yep. There we go. So you can see it's got these little ones down here, and you'll want to get those out. Those are just in between leaves. Pull those out. And if you flip it over, then you can kind of see these ones that have cuts that are just in between the scenery. Then when I did this card the first time, you're going to notice I did cut this apart into 3 pieces because I wanted to kind of stagger where my flowers were, because that's how my pigment sprayed the prettiest, and I was trying to have some of the prettiest places of color. So every card, you can kind of take a look at it and see if you want to do that. So for this one, I'll lay it on my card and see kind of how I want my overall look of pigments to show through. And then it will also determine where you end up putting your words by where your flowers are. Get that one last out there. Okay, well, this is dry enough, so it didn't take long to dry. There it is. This one does look different because I have added the granny apple. So now you have this, and so what I did on my other one was I chopped like here and here, so I could have the two wider. I think I am going to do that. So just take this and kind of just snip. I'll snip here. This gives you a little smaller one to put in the middle, just because of where I'm going to put my words. And then snip here, because this way you're not snipping where there's any flowers. Now you can see I've got a space in the middle where I can put some words and have a bigger gap. And then you just put these on with wherever there's a little bit of a flower that's kind of big enough to add a little bit of adhesive. And in fact, if you want, you can do the bottom with adhesive. And I did it just a fraction up, and it can go a little bit off because this is cut a ½ inch smaller than your card. But you can go back later and add a glue dot under a couple of the flowers if you want to keep them secure on here. But I like the way that this looks down here. So that's why I went up. If your bottom looks like if this is a little messy, then feel free to. So let's see, I'm going to cut a little bit of this off. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to cut this leaf off right here because our card is smaller than the die. Get rid of that flower there. And that's about right. If you're OCD, you might want to measure. It doesn't bother me, it kind of goes with the whimsy of the card, but it lines back up and it just has a little break down there. And let's mount it together. I have a base of Gorgeous Grape, and then a 5 1/4 by 4 mango. I'll stick this on here. My hands are so dirty that it's coming off onto the adhesive. There. And because it's curling up, you want to make sure that you have enough. It's because it's still a tiny bit damp. And I didn't line that up very well. That's okay because it's not stuck very well, so I think I can still move it. Or maybe not. The part where it's a little bit damp is stuck better than the rest of it. That's what happens when you're working upside down and not directly over. Okay, I'm going to move it closer to me for a second. So we get lined up better. There we go. And now add this. And sometimes after I'm done filming, I go back and I add a little bit more adhesive. And this goes on here. So those colors really pop and set off. And then we've got our happy day. And then kind of like wherever you like your colors, these flowers, I cut them a little bit so they're a little bit more over. And my first one, you want to be able to read it. I don't really like the way those yellows smeared up there, so I'm going to put it up there. Kind of turned a dark yellow up there. So let's go up there and leave this pretty down here that's more open. Then I'm going to take this and hopefully my fingers don't get it all dirty. And you're just going to hand cut these apart. And the secret to hand cutting these greetings when you do this to make just the little blocks is just go super close to the words, because the closer you are, the more likely you are to get them straight. And on this one, the closer you are, the less of your pretty background you're going to cover up. So I've got the here's to and the celebrating you. So I've got 3 pieces. I thought to cut the 2 apart made it, that was a little bit small. But you can get really close, and the closer you are, the less likely it is to look crooked. And nobody wants to take the time to put this in a paper trimmer. So let's get the here's to. And let's start, let's go over here. This is a different placement when you see my other card. It's all different. So everyone will be a little bit different, just kind of on how your colors looked, how your embossing was, how you layered your flowers. Let's do celebrating here. And this is why I didn't, even though I was highly tempted just because it's fun, put a pigment on the background of these, because I felt like when you did this, they were going to get lost. I want it here. Let's go here. Let's tuck it under a flower. So I'm going to use my scissors. Just hold this up for a second. You could also use the spatula tip, but mine's a little bit further away on the table. So there's that. And then one more fun thing. These are the Noble Peacock Rhinestones. They're super pretty. They're so shiny. And they're the colors that are in the Noble Peacock. But I'm going to go with the Gorgeous Grape. I'm just going to pull one of these off here and use it as the exclamation point for my happy day. Is that not just so fun? And the textures and with the glossy paper, with the pigments, with the embossing. And here's my other one that doesn't have any green. So they're kind of, you know, overall, if you have one of these and you gave it to somebody the next day you gave them this, they would not even know it was a different card. But when you see them side by side, they're different. But it's a super fun bundle. I have a feeling it will be one of those ones that might be overlooked unless there ends up being something really creative done with it on Pinterest or something online, because you don't really notice the dies unless you're looking at the front of the catalog and you notice them. But do check out the samples in the catalog. The page that they're on in the catalog, go next to it, because there's a palm tree sample that's cute as can be. And I may try to do something similar with that. But again, it's called Friend Like You. And I hope you like it. It's got lots of potential. It's got some masculine and some beachy vibes and some, put this down here, where it's starting to, as it dries, it will raise up. But I hope you like that. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can hit the little bell down there, and when I upload a new tutorial, it will always be there. You can also go to my email. I don't send for every video. You don't get an email, but when I once or twice a week I will have it, and usually I will have one link to the most recent video upload, and then I have the blog posts that contain the rest of them. But that's my video for today. Have a great day. Bye.